Starships everywhere, and most have hull registries. But as can be imagined, in a franchise as extensive as Star Trek, over the decades of continuity of a relatively minor matter such as hull registries has created some debate. A named starship might appear with one hull registry in one episode and then with another in a later episode. Two ships might have the same number, and of course there are leaps in numerical sequence. Here today, we will illustrate some of the gaps in Starfleet's hull registry history, and may God have mercy on your soul. In this video, I have deliberately left out the majority of those ship classes post Star Trek Voyager, mostly because their hull registries are relatively stable. For example, the Lunar class, which have hull registries from NCC 80101 to NCC 80116. Also note that not every starship in Star Trek is included. As we are about to see, there are 3 phases in the record. The first is the original series and films, which cluster between the NCC 300 and NCC 2000 range. The second phase is early Next Generation, when the new series was finding its feet. The third phase is the later Next Generation, and includes Deep Space Nine and Voyager, and is a phase full of starships. A few observations. Early in the Next Generation, there seems to have been a greater range of hull registries, from the Repulse at NCC 2544 to the Hermes at NCC 10376 and the Renegade at NCC 63102. The Ambassador class have lower registries than the majority of the Excelsiors, and we can suppose the latter were constructed in batches both before and after the advent of the Ambassador class, and perhaps something similar happened to the Mirandas, although oddly not the Ambassadors. We also have a number of ships with more than one hull registry. One number appears in, say, the Star Trek Encyclopedia, whilst another appears on screen. Some come from displays in episode, which are later contradicted by a clearly seen starship hull shot or line of dialogue. Here, the Yamato has 2, but based on the episode where Silence has lease, she could have 3. And I would like to shout out Ex Astris Scientia for many of these hull registries. Let's illustrate the range of hull registries using a scale. Their position laterally is meaningless, merely an attempt to give them space. The lowest numbers, such as the Daedalus class, belong to the original series and the motion picture. Here we include the Columbia and the Revere at NCC 621 and NCC 595 respectively. The Constellation NCC 1017 and the Republic NCC 1371 both have low registries as well, and so they sit low on our scale. I am sure I've forgotten something. Ah yes, of course, how could this trio slip my mind? They join the lower numbers. Now the bulk of the original series constitutions, as well as the constellations, and a handful of what we may consider early Excelsiors. The early Mirandas, including the Reliant NCC 1864 and the Lantry NCC 1837, have registries not much different from the higher constitutions. Now what might be the later constitutions of Operation Retrieve, alongside many of the Constellation class, and of course the Jenolan of Relics, the Gettysburg NCC 3890 and the Fearless NCC 4598 are outliers here, carrying the numbers up towards NCC 5000. It's a bit of a leap now towards NCC 10,000, and the first of the Ambassador class. The teens, if we can call them that, are rather sparse, with many starship names minus actual on-screen appearances. We are firmly in the obscure years between the Undiscovered Country and the first series of the Next Generation. Here is the bulk of the Ambassador class, as well as second-generation Mirandas, then into the 30,000s, though the ship hull registries are thin on the ground. The NCC 40,000s are the home of the later Excelsiors. And then boom, the nebulas and the galaxies arrive, populating the 60 and 70,000s. We can suppose hull registries are not confined to Starfleet ships, but to all spacecraft across a federation of some 150 member planets. A lone number of 40,000 spaceships in civilian use, a cosmic mercantile marine if you will, is not unrealistic if we use ocean-based shipping as a rough example. But then there are concentrations of Starfleet hull registries as well. Were there no civilian ships under construction at these times? Outside of the in-universe puzzle, there is the real-world question of these gaps. With the generational leap from the undiscovered country to the next generation era, we can expect a gap, but why introduce the ambassadors with NCC 20,000 level hull registries and the leap as far as the NCC 70,000s? How much time has really passed between the ambassadors and the galaxies? And why so few registries in the NCC 30,000s and 50,000s? Are these all civilian ships? Such a leap creates a problem for any future Star Trek 3rd Generation series, and even more so for a Star Trek 4th Generation. Can we expect a starship with a hull registry of NCC 9999999999 at some point in the future? I think I need a drink.